She was just a captive to them until she whispered to the human, "Please. I don't want to be alone anymore, asterisk. No one survived the crash, except him and her." The wreckage of the Serenity's ark burned low beneath the pale sky of Threxel's moon. Shattered metal, broken bodies, and silence, till one figure moved. Eli Voss, Federation diplomat, groaned as he pushed himself up from the dirt. His shirt was torn, face bruised, blood running down the scar that cut across. His jawline like a permanent reminder of older wars. He was breathing hard, limping, but alive. A sound behind him made him turn. The stasis harness hissed, releasing a tall, elegant figure. Elegant, beautiful, clearly confused. She groaned softly, eyelids fluttering open as she struggled upright. Skin the color of starlit violet shimmered in the moonlight. She was 8 feet tall, slim but strong, her hair long and silver. Falling over her bare shoulders like silk, he recognized her Dr. Ayla Threxana, one of the Threxel delegation's lead xenobiologists, cold, logical, always observing. Until now she blinked, looked around, then fixed her glowing eyes on Eli. Her voice came out flat, but serious. "I need to examine your reproductive organs," she said. Eli blinked. "You what now? For survival?" she added quickly. "If we are stranded, biological compatibility may determine reproductive viability. It is logical to begin analysis." Eli looked down at himself, bloody, dirty, slightly concussed, then back at her. "Lady, I don't even know if I have a pulse right now, and you're asking to check my equipment?" She tilted her head. "Yes." A few hours later, after building a rough shelter and scavenging heat packs from the wreck, they sat together beneath the twisted remains of a wing panel. The nights here came fast and cold. She sat closer than necessary, and stared at him while chewing a tasteless ration bar. "Your muscle structure is unusually dense for a soft-bodied mammal," she said. "Your mating systems are they standard across your species?" "You asking if all human guys are like me?" Eli asked, raising an eyebrow. "Big, durable, and blessed?" She nodded seriously. "Pretty much," he said with a crooked grin. "But I'm above average. Just saying." She took that in, expression unreadable. "I have studied 74 species' reproductive morphologies. None reach your girth." Eli choked on his water and turned away, coughing. "You can't just say that with a straight face." "I did not say it with humor. I am evaluating." She stood and approached. Her long fingers brushed against his arm. Not tender, not seductive. More like a scientist handling a live specimen. Her skin was warm. He didn't pull away. "You're not used to touch, are you?" he asked. "I do not require it," she said, "but I feel drawn to you. Your scent triggers hormonal spikes. My body's reacting, not ... unpleasantly. Look, I'm not saying no, just maybe let's survive the week first, yeah?" But her glowing eyes didn't move. "I am not asking for pleasure. I am asking for bonding. You have strong genes. I wish to carry your offspring." Eli's jaw dropped. "Threxel do not form emotional bonds. We match for utility. But with you, the urge feels different. It is not just logic. It is ... pull. Lie." Looked at her, at the powerful, glowing figure standing in the wreckage. "Asking not for sex, but for something more complicated. Something raw. You don't know what you're feeling," he said. "It's not just biology. You're scared. You're alone. And maybe for the first time, you want more than just function." Ayla hesitated. Her breathing changed. "You think this is emotion?" He nodded. "Yeah, and it's not a bad thing." She stepped closer, and when she touched him again, it was no longer for study. Her fingers trailed over his chest, slow, uncertain. She shivered just slightly. Her skin, once cool and smooth, now pulsed with faint warmth. Her body began to glow faintly along her spine and hips. "I am changing," she said. "Your presence is accelerating it." Eli stood still, watching her expression shift from curiosity to something deeper. "You've got a choice," he said softly. You can run your tests, or you can experience it. The real thing. Hand moved lower, stopped at his waist. I want to know. She whispered all of it. He didn't say another word. He just pulled her gently into his arms. And when they kissed, it wasn't for science. It was instinct, hunger, connection, and, yes, maybe even love. The kind that didn't need translation. The fire crackled quietly behind them, and the stars watched in silence. The next morning, the moon was quiet. Too quiet. Eli stretched beneath the makeshift canopy they'd rigged from thermal foil and twisted hull plating. His back ached, and the ground felt like a bed of bricks. But he wasn't complaining, mostly because there was a glowing alien wrapped around his arm. Breathing steady and slow, Alla had stayed close all night, curled up beside him, not just for warmth, but something else. Kind didn't cuddle. It didn't need emotional intimacy. But she hadn't let go once. Her skin still shimmered faintly, especially along the edges of her shoulder blades. It looked almost like veins of light beneath her skin, pulsing in rhythm with her breath. When he shifted, her eyes opened, not fast, not startled. Just awake, like she'd been waiting. I monitored your heartbeat, she said. Eli yawned. Anything worth publishing? It slowed during contact, stabilized during embrace. You soothe me? He blinked. That might be the nicest thing a woman's ever said to me. She tilted her head slightly. It is not affection. It is data. Sure it is, he muttered, smirking. They ate quietly that morning. Alla took the lead on scanning the terrain, using a salvaged module from the Cums deck, which she'd rebuilt from parts in under 20 minutes. She was brilliant and precise and utterly terrifying with tools. But something was off. She kept glancing at him, not scanning, staring. Finally, Eli caught her eye. Okay, what's up? You're looking at me like I'm about to sprout wings? You smell different today. He paused. Good, different, or bad different? Richer, heavier. Your scent has changed since we merged. Oh, he said slowly. Well, that tends to happen after, physical activity. I'm aware of post-bonding pheromone shifts, but human intensity is exceptional. My receptors remain triggered, continuously. He raised a brow. You're saying I broke your off switch? She blinked once. Yes. Eli chuckled, shaking his head. That's a new one. But underneath the banter, something more serious hummed. Ayla wasn't just reacting chemically. She was softening, looking at him longer, touching him more shoulder brushes, brief hand grazes, even a strange habit of laying her head just under his chin when they slept. It wasn't calculated, wasn't for data. It was real. She didn't seem to understand what that meant. That evening, they reached a ridge overlooking a canyon thick with fog and glowing plant life. Alla knelt and took samples, analyzing the air with her portable lab. Eli stood beside her, quietly watching. You don't talk much when you work, he said. I require full neural capacity to process environmental threats. Right. And how much of that capacity are you using to think about? Me. She didn't look up. 12%. That's oddly specific. I reduced it. Last night it was at 27. He laughed. So I'm distracting. Yes. Highly. Your presence alters my priorities. She finally looked at him. Her face wasn't as expressionless now. There was something behind her eyes await, a warmth. She reached toward him and touched the side of his face. My people view humans as primitive, crude. Your species is emotionally volatile. It's physically excessive and sexually disproportionate. Disproportionate, he repeated with a grin. You saying we're too much for you? She didn't flinch. Yes. Then she stepped closer. And yet, I cannot stop reacting. I feel unstable near you, and I do not want it to stop. Eli's smile faded slightly. He touched her hand. You're not unstable, Ayla. You're waking up. That thing you're feeling, it's called being alive. A gust of wind moved through the trees below them. Somewhere in the distance, something howled. A reminder that this moon was still trying to kill them. Ayla whispered, What happens? When we leave here, Eli frowned. If rescue comes, we go back. Federation will want a full report. Your people will probably want to pretend none of this ever happened. My people will take the offspring for sequencing. They will erase the bonding. I will be reassigned. His jaw tightened. What the hell they will? Allah blinked again. You would fight for me? Damn right. You're not a lab sample. That thing growing inside you, if it's mine, no one's taking it from me. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, without warning, she leaned in. Not with urgency, but something slower, deeper. She pressed her lips against his, not for study, not for survival, for connection. When she pulled away, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. I no longer care what they think. That night, she climbed into his arms again, not just to be held, but because something in her had shifted completely. She didn't just want his body. She wanted him, and Eli. He finally let himself want her back, because what started as a survival bond was beginning to feel like the start of a family. Asterisk, Eli hadn't slept much that second night, not because of fear, not because the wind howled, or the cold bit harder, but because Allah had started to hum in her sleep, not a song, not words. A low, instinctive vibration in her chest that passed through his ribs when she pressed against him like a purring storm. He didn't know what it meant, but it calmed him more than any med pack or painkiller ever had. She was tangled against him, one leg over his, arms wrapped tight like she didn't quite trust the world not to take him away. While she slept, that alone told him everything he needed to know. By the time the pale morning light slid over the wreckage, Eli was already up, stoking a fire and trying to figure out if you could toast ration bars without making them taste like regret. He failed. Allah stirred, eyes fluttering open. She sat up slowly, brushed silver strands of hair from her face, and blinked. I remained asleep for 4 full hours, she said, as if surprised. Eli smiled. You snored. I do not snore. You made a sound. It's not quite a snore. More like an alien kitten threatening war. She tilted her head. Fascinating. I have never emitted unconscious sounds during REM state. It only occurs in juveniles. So, what's your regressing? She stood, stretched like a jungle cat, every line of her tall frame illuminated by the sunrise. Skin glowed faintly along the edges. Her markings, once silver lines across her arms and hips, had deepened too. A soft gold? No, she said quietly. I believe him adapting. Eh? He tossed her one of the less burnt ration bars. She caught it without looking, bit into it, chewed thoughtfully, then said, still terrible, but it builds character. I already have character. She replied flatly. You said so. Last night. Twice. Eli coughed. That was ... contextual. It was excellent context. They both laughed. Later that day, Allah insisted on checking his vitals. Again, just in case, she said. Your biology is stubborn, but unregulated. Eli sat still as she placed her scanner against his chest. But this time her fingers lingered. She traced the edge of the scar across his jaw. Not clinical, gentle. You were injured in war, she said, though it wasn't a question. Not a glorious one, he replied. Mostly politics. Someone blew a door. I caught a piece of it with my face. You didn't repair it. Left it. Reminds me not to get too comfortable. Allah nodded slowly, then leaned in and pressed her lips to the scar. Not for science. Not for data. For him. You make comfort seem worth chasing, she said quietly. They didn't speak for a while after that. Words felt too small. That evening, the wind carried something sharpenized metal, burnt ozone. Li's instincts kicked in. Ayla up. Something's wrong. Day. Grabbed supplies and climbed to the highest ridge near the crash site. Ayla's scanner clicked softly. Energy signature. It's not natural. Federation beacon, model type, K-12, emergency response drone. It's scanning. Eli swore under his breath. That's not a rescue drone. That's a tracker. They're looking for you. No, she said. They're looking for what I might carry. Eli turned to her, jaw tight. And what is that? Exactly. Allah touched her belly, her expression unreadable. Scan I ran this morning. Confirmed early cell division. Implantation has begun. He stared at her, stunned. You're pregnant? She nodded once. With hybrid life? Unprecedented. Forbidden under Threxel law. They will not allow this to exist. He stepped back, ran a hand through his hair. So what your people are going to show up, say thank you for your service, and erase everything? Will not thank us, she said. They will erase me. He stepped forward. Like hell they will. Then we must leave this moon. Before they find the wreck. Before they find us. The firelight between them flickered low as the night fell hard again. But this time Eli didn't sleep. Neither did she. They held each other, awake, listening to every sound in the dark, waiting. The next morning, they began stripping parts from the wreck building, a signal scrambler, shielding their heat signature, packing what little food remained. Ayla worked with a quiet urgency, faster than ever. I was trained for survival, she said. But not like this. Not with someone. You're not alone, Eli said. I know. That's what scares me. Eli wrapped a blanket around her. Shoulders. It shouldn't. She leaned her head on his chest. I do not know how to love. My species does not practice it. He kissed the top of her head. You're learning. You're doing just fine. That night, as they looked up at the stars, Alice said something she'd never thought she'd say. I don't want to go back to them. I want to stay. ... Wherever you are. And for the first time since the crash, Eli didn't feel like a survivor. He felt like a partner, a protector, maybe even father. And though the world was closing in, our hearts had already opened. Because some bonds aren't forged by orders or science. They're born in fire. Asterisk. They didn't hear the ship until it was almost overhead. It didn't roar. It hummed low, deliberate, surgical, Federation tech. Too sleek to be civilian, too quiet to be a rescue. The sound crept through the clouds like a wolf's breath in winter. And then came the light. Eli shoved Ayla down into the brush, covering her body with his. From behind a pile of twisted metal, they watched the long, flat shadow glide across the ground. It circled once, twice, then it lowered. 3 legs extended. The hull hissed open, no names on the side. No colors. Just a dark insignia burned into silver. X Division. Ayla's eyes widened. That's not standard retrieval, Black Ops, Eli growled. For us. For me, she whispered. And what I carry. The doors opened. 2 figures in reflective armor stepped out, each holding precision stunners. No voices, just motion tight, rehearsed, efficient. These weren't soldiers. They were handlers. They're not here to talk, Eli muttered. They're here to erase, Allah said, and reset the records. One of the figures raised a handheld scanner and swept it across the terrain. It beeped once. Twice. Louder. They have my genetic imprint, Allah realized. They're triangulating. Eli stood slowly, cracked his neck, then pulled the makeshift blade he'd carved from ship debris from behind his belt. Not today, they're not. Allah reached for his arm. If you engage them, you'll die. If they take you, I already have. For a moment, they just stared at each other. The wind blew her silver hair across her glowing eyes. His jaw clenched, scar rigid. 2 beings who shouldn't even speak the same emotional language now, synced like gravity in orbit, and then the first shot rang out. They ducked as a plasma bolt seared through the metal inches above their heads. Eli grabbed Ayla's hand and ran, pulling her into the trees, deeper into the bioluminescent fog. The ground here was soft and wet, covered in glowing moss that stuck to their boots and left prints behind. They'll track us through heat signatures. Allah called out. Then we stopped generating heat, Eli said, yanking her down into a shallow riverbed. He pulled her under a sheet of mossy debris, and they went silent. Breath shallow, hearts racing. From the ridge above, a drone hovered, scanning. Allah's hand trembled slightly in his, not from fear, from restraint. Her species had been designed to yield, to comply. But right now, she was suppressing something ancient. something instinctive. They will take the fetus, she whispered. Cut it from me. Sequence it. Delete you from the record. They'll call it a correction. Eli leaned in. It may be. It's time we stop running. She turned toward him slowly. Her eyes were wide but focused. What do you propose? He smiled. Just a little. Let's steal their damn ship. It wasn't a plan. Not exactly, but it was a chance Allah hacked. The signal looped from the drone using the cracked remains of her portable scanner. It took her 6 minutes, 3 deep breaths, and 1 kiss from Eli that wasn't necessary but helped. Her fingers moved faster after that. You're a menace, she muttered. You're a goddess, he replied. Now mess up their targeting. Systems, please. Once inside the drone's feed, she overrode the beacon protocol. The drone blinked, then turned. Dan fired a burst of static at its own landing craft. One of the handlers ducked. Confused, that was all they needed. Eli charged. From the trees like a storm, swinging his blade wide. He caught the first soldier off guard, cracking the armor at the knee. The man went down hard. The second turned, weapon raised, but Allah was already behind him. Leaping with surprising strength for someone so graceful, she grabbed his head and pressed her fingers to his neural interface port. A jolt of energy pulsed out from her skin, an ability she'd never used in front of anyone before. The soldier froze, dropped, unconscious. Eli panted, wiping blood from his jaw. You never told me you could do that. Allah looked at her hands. I didn't know I could until you. They stood at the open hatch of the stealth ship. It was sleek, untouched. Ready? Are we actually doing this? She asked. Only if you want to, he said. If you stay, they'll come again. Harder, louder. You'll be locked in a lab until that child is born and gone. She looked at the black corridor beyond the hatch. And if I go with you, she asked softly, you'll have me? All I can promise. Allah stepped forward. That's enough. They closed the hatch behind them and lit the engines. As the stealth ship rose into the sky, silent and burning. Cleanila looked over at her in the co-pilot's seat. Her eyes were glowing brighter now, her pulse steady. Her hand found his. Do you still think we weren't meant to be? She asked. He grinned. I think we broke the rules. I think we rewrote them. Behind them, the moon shrank into a silver dot. Ahead, stars opened like a map yet to be drawn, and in her womb, life stirred something entirely new, something forbidden, something theirs. Asterisk. They didn't have a destination, just a way. The stolen stealth craft class interceptor. No transponder. Lightspeed capable, moved like a ghost through fringe space. No beacons. No ID. No broadcast. No record. Which was perfect. Because Ayla, Threxana, and Eli Voss were no longer part of anyone's record. Eli stood at the viewport, arms crossed, watching stars melt into streaks. Ayla sat nearby, cross-legged on a cargo crate, silently reading a data pad she'd pulled from the cockpit locker. Every few minutes, she'd glance at him, not because she was scanning him. Not anymore, because she liked looking, he noticed. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And smiled. How's our course? She asked. Off every known grid, Eli replied. Just the way we like it. Allah nodded, closing her eyes briefly. I can feel the embryo starting to sync with my vitals. It's stabilizing. He stepped closer. You okay? I'm more than okay. I've never felt this. Mine. She placed his hand gently on her abdomen. Just skin, warmth, and the steady pulse of something tiny and growing. I still think this is insane, she whispered. I think it's the only sane thing I've done, he said. This. Her eyes shimmered. I'm terrified. Me too, Eli said. That's how I know it matters. The moment was soft. Still, then the ship jolted. Lights blinked. Console panels lit up. Something had locked onto their location. Ayla leaped up. We've been pinged. Secondary scan. Crew Technot Federation. Smuggler band. Eli checked the scope. Even worse. On the edge of the radar, a massive silhouette emerged. Fat engines. Asymmetrical hull. patchwork repairs, a floating junkyard with teeth. He sighed. That's a slaver hulk. Allah didn't blink. They'll board, they'll scan, they'll find the child. He snapped the controls into manual and dipped low into a dust belt. The stealth ship shook violently. Not meant for atmosphere dancing. Hold on, he barked. The slaver ship followed. They didn't make it out clean. The stealth ship took a glancing shot across the rear port systems, blinked, then died. The entire vessel went dark and cold. Emergency lights hummed. Gravity flickered. Ayla held Eli's hand tighter. We're caught. We make noise, Eli said. Break teeth. They were dragged out by a boarding Team 6 slavers in crude armor, patched gear, half of them barely sober. Eli took a hit to the gut, didn't flinch. Allah was scanned, poked, prodded, but said nothing. The lead slaver, massive, forearmed, face scarred and tattooed, grunted when his scanner beeped. He looked at Ayla's belly. Breeding class. Rare hybrid. Someone's gonna pay for that. Eli's voice cut through the cold air like a blade. You touch her again, I'll snap. Your arms off and feed them to you. The brute laughed. You'll be sold as fertilizer. Human. She's the prize. Then a gun fired. But not theirs. The slaver chief's head snapped sideways, one eye gone. Body falling. Behind him, standing in the docking bay's shadows, was a woman in a patched long coat, human, tall, hair in braids, carrying a massive rifle like it was light as air. Sorry, boys, she said. That one's under my protection. Eli squinted. Juno.
Oh.
The woman smirked. Told you to call me if things got interesting. Juno Kett was a former Federation asset turned smuggler turned rebel cell leader. She owed Eli a favor. He once pulled her crew out of a sealed radiation zone by flying a broken shuttle on half a wing and duct tape. She'd never forgotten. You're carrying a half-breed. It's bonded to a Threxel and wanted by both her people and your own. She said over black market tea in the hideout's mess hall. You never do boring, Eli? Trying it now, he replied. How quiet is this place? Buried asteroid, shielded tunnels, no signals in or out. Even Federation scanners bounce. Allah stepped forward. I need medical access. Privacy. This pregnancy. It's not standard. Juno nodded. We've got a doctor, ex-Biocori. He doesn't ask questions, just stitches and scans. Does that do? Allah nodded, but her shoulders remained tight. That night Eli sat outside their quarters, watching the low light of the asteroid cave reflect off metal walls. Allah stepped out, wrapped in one of his jackets, her hair loose, skin glowing slightly under the old bulbs. I should feel safe, she said, but all I feel is ... small. You're not small, Eli said. You're carrying something. That'll change everything. She sat beside him. My people will never allow this to exist. Yours might try to weaponize it. We don't belong anywhere. He leaned in. Then we make a place. She looked at him. You really believe that? I believe in you. I believe in what we made. And then, softly, she rested her head on his shoulder. I don't know how to build a life. Don't have to, Eli said. You just have to want one. I do, she whispered. With you? They sat in silence, and for the first time, she didn't feel like an experiment. She felt like someone who mattered. And that night, as they lay together in a room carved from asteroid stone, her hands pressed against his chest, he whispered something he'd never said before. Not in war, not in peace, not even in bed. You're my home now. She didn't answer right away. She just smiled and kissed him like nothing else in the universe mattered. Because maybe nothing did. Asterisk, they thought the asteroid was safe. For 7 days, Eli and Ayla had lived quietly among smugglers. Rebels, engineers with criminal pasts, and people too dangerous to be documented. Ayla's skin had lost some of its defensive glow. Her voice had softened. She no longer checked the exits every 30 seconds. Eli started to sleep with both eyes closed. He'd even unpacked, like they were staying, but safety was always a temporary illusion. And their illusion shattered at midnight. A broadcast came in through a back door, come relay and traceable, encrypted Federation grade. Juno caught it first. She watched the message twice before calling them in. Eli stood behind Ayla, arms folded across his chest as the message played. A uniformed woman with a chiseled jawline, a voice like frozen steel, looked out from the screen. Federation Directive 96 Delta. Subject: unauthorized interspecies conception. Asset designation: Elithrex Sana. Human designation: Eli Voss. Her voice didn't change. It didn't need to. By order of Central Command, both targets are to be detained or neutralized. Immediate bounty authorization: 500,000 credits live. 250,000 confirmed remains. The screen cut to black. No sound. Just silence. Eli didn't speak for a long time. His hands were trembling. Not from fear, from rage. They just put a price on our child, he muttered, like it's a glitch. In their system, Alla stood perfectly still. Her eyes had lost their warmth. Her posture, once relaxed, had gone rigid again. Warrior mode. But something flickered behind her expression. This wasn't a policy decision, she said finally. This was personal. Someone wants me gone. They want him. She touched her stomach, erased. Juno leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You can stay here, but you won't stay hidden. Yeah, bounty's going to bring a lot of the worst people out of their caves. I won't run anymore, Eli said. Ayla looked up at him. Even if it gets you killed, he shook his head, especially if it doesn't. She blinked slowly, like his words were something she hadn't allowed herself to imagine. Then she nodded, once tightly. Then we fight. The next 48 hours were a blur. Juno assembled a team mercs. Techs and one ex-Federation comes officer with a grudge the size of a small moon. They converted the docking bay into a shielded launch tunnel. Ayla designed the biojammer herself, something that would block her genetic signal for 10 minutes. It's just long enough to make a break. But it wasn't just about escaping anymore. It was about sending a message. They want us quiet, Ayla said as she rewired an old tactical scanner. But if they're going to come for us, then let them know what they're really up against. Eli passed her a tool, pissed off Threxel. Hybrid mother and a scarred-up human who doesn't like rules? Ouch, smirked. That's one way to describe us. He looked at Herzuet on her forehead, eyes burning with something fierce and maternal and wild, and thought, there's no one in the galaxy like her, and she's mine. They came at dawn. 3 ships, not Federation marked. Freelancers, bounty, hunters, paid killers. Juno's scouts caught them in orbit and warned the base. Eli armed himself. He hadn't picked up a rifle in years, but it felt natural now. Ayla stood in the control room, one hand on her stomach, the other on the shield controls. If they breach the doors, we vent the lower tunnels. No mercy. Juno nodded. They're not here for negotiations. The first blast shook the entire rock, then came the breach. Eli fired the first shot. It hit a merc dead in the chest body, slammed into the tunnel wall. The second took 2 steps forward before Ayla's pulse cannon blasted him backward. Her aim was terrifying, not reckless. Precise. She was protecting. She was choosing. They fought side by side, back to back, the way only bonded beings do. Eli covered her. She advanced. Every shot had purpose. Every move was sync. When the smoke cleared, 5 bodies lay in the corridor. None of them moved. Ayla looked at Eli, breathing hard. I think I understand now. Understand what? Love makes you willing to become. Eli didn't reply. He just pulled her close and kissed her hard, the kind of kiss you give someone when the world wants to tear them away. After the battle, they sat outside the launch tunnel under the artificial stars of the shield dome, blood on their clothes, smoke in the air. But they were alive. Together. You're not scared anymore, Eli said. I'm still scared, Alla replied. But now I'm also angry. That's more useful. He laughed, then frowned. They're going to keep coming. Think then. We don't hide, she said. We build. He turned to her. What are you saying? She took his hand, pressed it to her belly. Indeed. I'm saying we stop being hunted. and we start fighting for a future. It's not just for us. For him. For every hybrid they want to erase. How do we start? Eli asked. She looked up. By making a call. Not to the Federation, not to the Threxel, but to the people no one controls anymore. The outsiders, the rebels, the ones who've been waiting for a cause. Eli smiled. You're starting a war. No, she said. I'm starting a family. And they just declared war on it. Asterisk. They didn't whisper anymore. A week after the attack, Eli and Ayla stood side by side on a platform carved into the heart of the asteroid base. Around them, the room had filled smugglers, hackers, deserters, outlaw traders, even a few ex-Federation ghosts who'd faked their own deaths just to live free. Juno stood to the side. Arms folded, her rifle across her back, watching the couple at the center like a proud older sister who knew things were about to get loud. Alla stepped forward. The lights caught her violet skin, her glowing eyes, her rounded belly beneath the makeshift armor. She looked regal, untouchable. Except, when she looked at Eli then, she just looked home. I am Ayla Threxana, she said, voice calm but razor sharp. Former genetic caste, former property. And I am done being hidden. No one spoke. I carry a hybrid child the Federation has labeled a threat. My people have labeled it a contamination, but it is none of those things. She paused. It is proof that we can choose who we are. That a human and a Threxel, two species with every reason to fear each other, can create life, not because of a lab or a directive, but because we wanted to. There was a murmur in the crowd. Someone clapped, hesitant. She continued, the Federation wants us erased. Quietly, they put a price on our heads. They think that will make us run, but I say we stop running. Eli stepped up beside her, his voice deep and unshaken. Most of you out here, you know what it's like to be labeled disposable, unregistered, unwanted, that ends today? He looked out at the crowd, the pirates and fugitives, the former slaves and the broken soldiers. You've all lost something. Someone, a home, a name, a future.
So have we. He reached out, took Ayla's hand, but now we're building one, and we're not doing it alone. So finally pushed off the wall and walked up. I've got
3 ships, a smuggler network, and a blackmail folder on half the Federation High Council, she said with a grin. Let's make some noise. The crowd erupted. Ayla just smiled. Then we begin. The base became a forge. Eli worked day and night, modifying old freighters into armored transports, installing illegal jammer tech, and painting over the ship. Names with the new insignia, a silver arc. Wrapped around a circle of light, Ayla oversaw strategy, communications, even medical. Her knowledge of genetic implants helped remove old controlled chips from dozens of rescued defectors. Every time someone walked into her med bay in chains, they left free. One morning, young Threxel girl, barely adolescent, eyes wide with fear, approached Ayla in the hangar. She didn't speak, just stared at the curve of Ayla's belly. You're carrying one of us? The girl whispered. Alla knelt gently. No, I'm carrying one who will be both of us. The girl nodded once, and then hugged her. It was the first time. Alla had been touched without fear or compliance in years. She didn't cry, but she held the girl a long time. At night, Eli and Alla curled together in a corner room, warm under layers of blankets stolen from across the stars. He would read her old Terran stories from a data tablet, folk tales and forgotten Earth poetry. His voice steady as she drifted off to sleep. She didn't dream of control rooms anymore. She dreamed of grass, of sunlight, of running barefoot sometimes. She whispered names, testing the sound of them in the dark. He always listened. Then came the signal. A Federation fleet mobilizing near the outer moons of Deltrion sector. Rumor said they were preparing a new law, one that would criminalize all hybrid births. Full sterilization protocols, no appeal, no trial. Alla stared at the transmission for a long time. Then she said, "We need to go public." Eli's blood went cold. Allah, if they see you, let them, she said. Let every system see what they want to destroy. The broadcast went live from orbit. The stolen S-class stealth ship hovered just outside regulated space, shields up. A single tight beam signal shot across the mainline relays. It went everywhere. Trade stations, black markets, military channels, even a few noble houses. The image was simple. Just Allah. She stood before a blank wall, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. Her voice was calm, beautiful. True. My name is Ayla Threxina. I am alive. I am not property. And I will not surrender my child. A pause. I loved a human. I chose him, and he chose me. What we made together is not a threat. It is a beginning. The screen flickered, not from a glitch. From hearts changing. Allah smiled, just slightly. You can try to silence us. You can hunt us. But for every one of us you erase, 2 more will stand in our place. The screen cut to black. Underneath, just one line of text. We are not the end. We are the start. Across the stars, things began to move. A Threxel noblewoman deleted a military order. A human smuggler redirected a fuel shipment to a rebel port. A Federation soldier watching alone in his bunk turned off the screen and quietly removed his badge. Something had changed, because a human and an alien had done the one thing no one expected. They had made a family, and now the galaxy had to deal with it. Asterisk. The child kicked for the first time the night before the war. Ayla woke suddenly, breath caught in her throat, hand pressed to the curve of her belly. The movement was faint, but unmistakable, a spark, a nudge, pulse of life that didn't belong to her body but now defined it. Eli stirred beside her, groggy and shirtless. You okay? She turned toward him, eyes soft, glowing faintly. In the darkness, he moved. He smiled like a man who'd just witnessed a star being born. Then he whispered, He's ready. So were they. The asteroid base buzzed with motion. 12 ships in orbit. 3 ground teams staged across the region. Cloaking fields powered, engines warm. The resistance had grown faster than anyone expected. From pirates and smugglers too. Scientists, ex-soldiers, diplomats in hiding, all of them united by one simple truth. The Federation had gone too far. It wasn't just about Eli and Ayla anymore. It was about the right to exist without permission. Juno stood at the edge of the command deck chewing on a sin stick. Fleet scans show they're sending 3 carriers, heavy escorts, and enough drones to black out the sun. Eli checked his rifle. Then we better bring sunscreen. Allah didn't smile. Not today. Her focus was locked. I'll fly the flagship, she said. The signal amplifier is ready. I can broadcast to every Threxel-controlled node within 60 light-years. Juno raised an eyebrow. You planning to give a speech while they try to vaporize us? Yes, Allah replied.
L1.
They'll never forget. Asterisk, the battle began at first light. The Federation fleet dropped out of FTL like a blade through still water, precise, massive, and merciless. Their flagship Judicators Reach launched drones in coordinated waves. Dark clouds of metal swarming across the asteroid field, but the resistance was already waiting. Eli's gunship burst from a side tunnel, flying low and fast, cannons hot. He hit the lead drone cluster before they fully deployed, shattering their pattern in the chaos. Ayla's ship, small, sleek, built for speed, cut through the center of the swarm like lightning. Inside, she stood at the amplifier terminal, one hand steady on her belly, the other hovering above the interface. You sure you want to do this now? Juno's voice came through the comms. Yes, Allah said. This child will not be born in silence. She pressed the key. The amplifier pulsed, every Threxel relay. Its station flickered, and then her voice filled the stars. To those who serve blindly, ask yourselves what you're truly protecting. To those who hide in comfort, your silence is permission. And to those who believe hybrids like my child should not exist, come find me, see the life inside me, and tell me it deserves death. She paused, letting the words settle like thunder in an empty hall. I am not a mistake. My child is not a weapon. My bond with Eli Voss is not contamination. Her voice hardened. It is evolution. On the bridge of the Judicator's Reach, the Admiral's hands trembled. The broadcast had hijacked internal screens. The crew, young, tired, human, listened in silence. Sir, one ensign asked quietly. Orders. The Admiral's jaw clenched, but the command never came. Back in orbit. Federation fleet stopped moving, and then slowly ships began peeling off. Not to fire, to leave. One by one. Captains made their choice, not out of pity, out of respect, out of understanding. The Judicator's Reach turned last, then blinked out into FTL. Just like that, the war ended. Weeks passed. The asteroid base was converted. Part rebel command, part sanctuary. People came from across systems, other hybrids in hiding, human Threxel couples once too afraid to admit the truth. A movement began. A name took hold. They called themselves the Arkborn. Eli sat on the edge of their makeshift home, glass-walled habitat on a quiet moon far from the central lanes. He was building a cradle with his hands. No machines. Just would sweat. God, an old Terran know-how. Alla walked barefoot through the grass behind him, pregnant, peaceful. Herself. I thought your species preferred technology for childcare. She teased softly. He looked up, smirking. Cribs don't. Build themselves. I meant the manual labor. ... Endearing. Yeah, he said, hammering gently. So's your face in the morning, but I don't hold it against you. She rolled her eyes. Our son will have your humor. I'm already worried. He stood and met her halfway, rested a hand on her stomach. You ready? I've been ready. Since the day you didn't walk away from me. Soft wind blew across the fields. Somewhere beyond, ships came and went. Messages flowed. Resistance became reform. Borders shifted, but here, on this little piece of nowhere, two souls stood quietly. Together. You ever think about how weird this all is? Eli asked. Every day. You'd still do it again? She smiled, radiant and fierce. In every timeline, every version, every universe. They leaned into each other, foreheads touching, two beings who were never supposed to love, never supposed to meet. And yet, they did. The universe didn't give them permission, so they made their own. And in the warmth of that stolen peace, just before the sun dipped behind the trees, Ayla whispered, He's coming. Eli's breath caught. Now. She nodded. Now. He took her hand, held it tight, and together they walked toward the shelter, toward the future, toward the beginning of something the stars could never erase. Not a war, not a rebellion, a family. The first of many. The end.